Hey there, Fellowship family. Welcome to your one-stop shop for all things church life. I'm Mark Francis, once again, your host for today. And ever since we've embarked on this fall series here of what are the ministries that are happening at Fellowship, what are we relaunching, what is happening around here, I have to go to my friends in Congregational Care. Because I'll believe it or not, this is a world that even I don't know that much about. So in our conversations today, I'm going to be asking questions because literally I don't know the answers to them. So I'm excited about that.
And maybe we'll have the answers. I'm not sure.
Let's see about that. Well, so you hear their voices already. I have on my right Deborah Clark. How are you?
I'm doing hunky-dory.
Give us your title here at FBC.
Well, officially, I'm the Congregational Care Coordinator.
Awesome. Okay,
Yes.
and we're going to unpack what that means. And over here, we have Dave Compton, pastors of seniors and Congregational Care.
Exactly, yes.
You get two hats.
Yep.
You're only going to wear one of them right now.
Yep.
Okay,
Right.
so we will talk about seniors another day, potentially. But when it comes to Congregational Care, I'll just ask you, paint a picture of what we are trying to accomplish when we use the words congregational care here at Fellowship Bible Church.
Yeah, I'll start off and then Deborah can embellish and fill me in or correct me on stuff that I miss. Because Deborah's been with us how many years, Deborah, in your role?
Oh my goodness, I don't even know.
There you go. There's the answer. Don't even know. Long time.
A long time.
Not enough. I'm still learning.
But when I think of the big umbrella, I go back to, and this is providential, if nothing else, that Mark Carey is starting the series in Acts. And I kind of always use Acts chapter 2 as congregational care, starting at around verse 43, but it talks about this new body of believers, this new church, first century church, and folks were taking care of themselves, and they were meeting in their homes. And if there was a need, people were selling land and helping out and meeting, whether it's their financial needs or physical needs, as well as the spiritual needs. So that's kind of the model that we go by. But from a day-to-day operational thing, when you think about congregational care, maybe one easy thing is that a lot of folks out there maybe get an email from Deborah that is an email prayer list.
Right.
And so Deborah can maybe tell us how that works and who it goes out to, and maybe if there's folks out there that want to be included on a list, she can give them your email address and we can add them to the mail.
All your personal information,
Yeah.
your phone number, your home
all
address,
out
your
there.
email address. Yeah, sure. No, but I think you're right, Dave. It does start with just awareness of how can we care for our body, and it starts with prayer requests. So what do you do from that role, Deborah? I mean, how do you glean
Well, some
what
of the
those are?
prayer requests come in online. So folks can go onto our website and request prayer that way. You can always email me at deborahc@fbcva.org or Dave at the
C.
same time.
Yep, at fbcva.org also. Yep.
Yeah.
Right. And so then we get the prayer requests and send them out daily if that's the need. But when you opt to get the prayer requests, also you can do that online, then those are the people the prayer requests go out to. It doesn't go out to just everybody in the whole church. I think that that's very important to understand. But I will say that of all of the emails that go out from FBC, the prayer requests are by far the most opened. So we know that there are people out there praying. And there's over 300 people who have signed up to receive the prayer request. So you can just email them online or email them to me or Dave and at FBC Care. And then we send those out. Sometimes we have to tweak them a bit because we don't want certain really personal information to be out there. But we also have a prayer team after services. Where if people need prayer, they can come up and ask for prayer, and then we ask them at that point in time whether or not they want that published, and if they don't want those on the prayer team to know about it, just to be prayed for at that particular point in time, then that's fine. We
Yeah,
don't publish everything.
Yeah, and I think the important thing to know is those prayer warriors, that is their gift. You know, they know that's the gift that the Lord gave them, and they love praying. And so the folks that are in that 300 number, that's what they feel called to do. And so it's a great opportunity.
It is helpful. I mean, I'm on that list, and just knowing the needs of the body, and just driving down the road and you get a little notification or an email, and you're just thinking to yourself, wow, okay, that's going on in that person's life. How can I pray for that?
Yeah.
It seems small, it seems insignificant, but we all know it's not,
It's
right?
huge.
And it's not a form of gossip or just sharing information about people. This is truly one of the first steps of how can we care for each other, right?
And the people that send in the prayer requests, many times afterwards we'll get a note. Thank you so much for praying. This is the outcome, or this is what's happened, or please continue to pray. So it's not only great for the person that's praying as that prayer warrior, but it's a blessing to the folks that are submitting that prayer request.
And I've used it as a means of just a next level conversation in church, you know. And so if you know the people, and you're like, I wasn't aware that was going on with their family member or their health or whatever's going on with car problems. Even, I mean, there's all kinds of needs that come out in this prayer chain,
Sure.
and you can use that as an opportunity to not just talk about the weather on a Sunday morning, but to say, hey, how is it going with your sibling or whatever the prayer request was, and allow some authentic fellowship to occur
Right.
during our corporate gathering times.
Yeah.
And that's engaging the congregation, right? And so it starts with prayer, I think.
Exactly.
What else? What are the other layers of congregational care that's occurring?
Yeah, let me, and I'll toss this one to Deborah, because I'm going to go from that big email prayer chain to really one that's almost under the radar that maybe not many people know about, and that's Joy Ministries. So Deborah can tell us about the Joy Ministries.
The Joy Ministry has been such a blessing to several of our families here. It's for people who have disabilities. Right now we're concentrating on children because we want families to be able to come to church. And sometimes they just can't, or they have to choose which parent stays home and which parent gets to go. And we want them all here. So the Joy Ministry is comprised. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Comprised of folks who have a heart for this ministry, and we have buddies. And these people walk alongside the children in a regular classroom if they're able to participate in that form. Otherwise, we have a self-contained classroom where children who can't go into a regular classroom are taught. And we do songs, we do sign language, we try to engage all parts of the body and different types of learning styles so that we reach the children with the gospel.
Yeah. And then I guess the more broader one is just congregational care in general and the different facets of congregational care. One that maybe a lot of people know about is our benevolence part, and that's the benevolence program and ministry is managed by our deacons. We have 2 or 3 deacons who just focus on the benevolence, and that's meeting the needs financially of the folks at church that have typically a short-term financial need, and they're just going through a rough time. And so they meet with the deacons of benevolence, and we help them out whenever we can. And typically it starts with a conversation with the deacons, and then there is some paperwork to fill out so that we know exactly what's going on in their world. And then we take care of, it might be a rent, or it might be a car repair bill, that we just send a check right to the rental place or right to the car repair place and pay that expense for them to help them out. So there's a little bit of a make sure that we're meeting the needs, and not something that is, ongoing. It's usually a short term.
So, quick follow-up question to that. Is that a special giving opportunity that our church has? I remember back in the olden days when we had paper and we had a
Yeah.
bulletin on Sunday
Yeah.
mornings, there were certain weeks that there would be a little envelope in there.
Yeah.
And so how has that evolved over the years to
You
where
know-
people give specifically to benevolence?
It is amazing that since that change from to a paperless Sunday morning, people continue to give and designate parts of their giving to the benevolence ministry, and that fund has not decreased even as much as we've helped people out. The funds continue to come in there on a monthly basis, and so the folks that have done it for years and years continue to do it. It's not, we don't widely publicize it, but it's amazing how that ministry and the funds there continue to grow without the publicity.
Are these people within the church or these people out of the church
That are on the
that
receiving,
are receiving? Yeah.
all inside the church.
Okay.
So they are an attendee or a member of the church. And I will say, there's on occasion we'll get that person that sends an email to us or calls a church that doesn't go to our church, and they're asking for relief or they're asking for some help. And we partner with several different agencies in the area, whether it's Salvation Army, the homeless shelter, other places. And so we'll direct those people to the contacts that we have there, because out of our benevolence fund, we contribute to those different agencies. So we feel like we can support them, but through the local, whether they're a nonprofit or state agencies, what have you.
It's a neat just awareness conversation that we're having. Again, because out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
We're not seeing the envelopes come through. We're not talking about it as a church that often, but you guys are swimming in this world. And I'm thinking of community group leaders. I'm a community group leader, for example. And, if there's a need within that group of people, to have the awareness that this is an opportunity that is potentially there for somebody who has a financial difficulty, or just the care that's happening, or the joy ministry. I think that's part of why I think this conversation is interesting, again, because you guys do fly under the radar. There is something about you guys are just doing the work just silently, but I want to bring a light to it because there's more, I think, that we can keep doing for our body, like you said, that relates to Acts 2.
Yeah.
And relates to how can we take care of ourselves and the needs of our own body. And that's what congregational care, to me, is a definition of that.
Yeah.
Right?
And to tag along with that, our philosophy is if there's a need and you have a family, your family should be helping you out. If you have a need and there's no family, then if you're in a small group, community group, that would be the next layer, where that community group can come alongside and help you out. Knowing that the leaders of those community groups might be aware of us, so that they might come to us and say, hey, so-and-so has a need, can you help us out? And then if
Good
they're
point.
not in a community group, but they are part of our church, then we are kind of that third layer where we
Interesting.
we
Yeah.
will help them
No,
out.
that's helpful to see it like that.
Yeah, and so it is important for the community group leaders to know that we are out there and we're here to help them out. Yeah, another one is kind of along those lines is our Stephen Ministry group and Stephen Ministry ministers, and those folks are definitely under the radar. But if there's someone in the church, again, maybe they don't have a family member to help them out. Maybe they're in a community group, or they're not in a community group, and they've lost a spouse. They're having some health issues. They lost a job. They're having maybe some small marital problems going on. We have Stephen ministers that are trained. They go through 50 hours of training, and they can walk alongside of these folks and kind of walk them through a difficult patch that they're going through. We're not biblical counselors,
Okay.
So we help out just in a temporary way, whether it's, again, grieving, whether it's a health condition or a health issue that they're going through, loss of a job, etc. So a lot of times they'll call the church, or the community group or one of the pastors will say, hey, I was talking with so-and-so the other day, and they're really struggling, and I think they could probably benefit from a Stephen minister. That Stephen minister meets with them once a week for an hour for as long as they're needed. And it's all confidential, and but not on the biblical counseling side.
Right, just more of a listening component.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
give us the history of that. Now that you've segued into Stephen's ministry, over the years we had major training sessions that happened. We were a part of that ministry and that program. I heard through just bits and pieces that it was kind of getting disassembled, or I don't know what the right word for that would be, just kind of like not officially Stephen ministry, but now you're referring to it. What's the current status of that ministry? Give us a little bit of a background of what that looks like.
Yeah, there was a time a couple of years ago, right before I came on staff 2 years ago, where you can blame on COVID or just the turnover of leaders in Stephen ministry, that they were kind of left without a leader. And again, during COVID, it was hard to keep things going. And so
Here at FBC.
Because
there's also a national program.
Yeah, Stephen Ministries is based out of St. Louis, and it's really an international program, but they're based out of St. Louis.
And they do the training, the curriculum, and explain how to do it, and teach you as a church on how you develop it here.
Yeah, they have excellent curriculum. They're very, very well organized. And, once the church decides to become affiliated with Stephen Ministers and the Stephen Ministry, they can use the material. It's a 50-hour training sessions that the Stephen Ministers go through, so it is very, very thorough. There was a time where we talked about, do we really need Stephen Ministers? And honestly, there's times when I think, well, gee, there are so many people in our church that are gifted already, and the Stephen Minister training would probably enhance their giftedness already. And then there might be folks that feel like maybe this is something that they could include as a ministry, that they just need some training to make them feel more competent. That's the good thing about Stephen Ministers.
So we have those. We have people who are trained,
we
who
do.
are now at our disposal to call on, to be that listening ear, like you said, not counselor.
Yeah.
Which I'm a little plug. We're going to get a chance to hear about the counseling ministry next week. So we'll be able to springboard into the difference. I might ask the counseling team what that difference is. But again, what you're saying is maybe just an hour a week.
Yeah.
Just get on the phone or meet in person.
Yeah.
To just walk them through a difficult time.
Can I pray with you? Nothing real deep. We share scripture as needed. And there's probably, we just had a class of 7 Stephen Ministers that went through, and a couple from the Shenandoah Church went through it. So they're starting their Stephen Ministers down there. And then we have existing Stephen Ministers. So, there's probably 10 or 12 of us that are still active in Stephen Ministers. And so, again, people don't know about it because we keep it very, very confidential.
Yeah.
But if there's folks out there that would like to know more about it, and if they might be in a position right now where they need somebody just to help them walk through this period, that's what we're all about. Yeah.
And
So.
There's even more to unpack with what you guys do.
Yeah.
I know. So we're going to just keep plugging away here because I want to expose all of the different opportunities to the church. Deborah, I know you were majorly involved with the funeral ministry.
Yes.
And you view that as congregational care, obviously, working with the families. So walk us through how you come alongside of families through that difficult time and season of their lives.
Well, we know that it is a process, and because there are families that live separated from one another in different parts of the country and even outside the country, we really believe that the time for families together at funerals is necessary. It's really important part of grieving. And so planning funerals is a 2-step job. We each have our responsibilities. I'm mostly on the reception end, which is preparing a meal for the family following the service. And I just love it. I love our team. The people who serve with me in funerals are very compassionate people. And they understand the importance of gathering around the table for families. And sometimes when families are disjointed, you find that when you can get them around the table, it becomes smaller. Those differences become smaller, and it promotes healing. And so, I have a team, and we welcome anybody to be on that team. Who prepares beforehand and during the day of the service.
And Dave, you're on the pastoral component of that, of working with the family and walking them through the process and even the funeral itself.
Yeah, so when we get word that either there's a church member or a family member of a church member or attendee that is passing away or has passed away, I'll get in touch with them and just say, hey, we're here for you. Do you want to have are you going to have a service? Do you want to have it at the church? Which pastor would you like to have officiate that service? And then there's a lot of moving parts, as you know, from a technical standpoint. We get the tech team involved, we get the musicians involved, we get the speakers involved. The facilities team is setting up the auditorium. Are we going to meet upstairs? Are we going to meet downstairs? Deborah's team also includes greeters and ushers, and it's putting the whole program, the service together. What songs do you want sung? What scripture do you want sung? Who would you like to have sing? Do you have speakers that would like to get up and share some memories of the person that passed away? So it takes, we've done funerals in less than a week that happened.
Oh, usually it's 3 days.
Yeah. They can happen very, very quickly.
Sure.
Or we've had services, memorial services, that it was 3 weeks after the person passed away that we had that service planned just because other family members couldn't get into town right away or whatever. So we can make it happen quickly, or we can take as much time as the family needs.
And I have to say, it wouldn't probably come together nearly as smoothly without Marcy Baber, who's our administrative assistant. She gets the programs together and does a beautiful job.
Designs the program, puts the pictures on there, scripture.
And I see it from just the inside perspective, but I'll also speak to it from an outsider of, working with some of the family members who have gone through this before, hearing stories, and I call them testimonies of the appreciation of what you guys do and what the FBC compassionate volunteers do. Because yes, you're not just putting on a program, you're not just putting on a service and doing an event. It's providing care to the families here at FBC and their families who are coming from out of state, out of town, and showing them love, giving them the level of service and hospitality and compassion and grief sharing and all the things that go into that, where I've heard people walk away and be like, that was amazing. And we couldn't have done it without FBC and you guys. And the if you call it joy that people walk away with of seeing Christ through that level of service is an appreciation to what you guys do. But just the ministry as a whole. Of seeing kind of the end result of, like you said, families coming together when maybe there might have been tensions or difficulties. And this is a difficult time, difficult season of people's lives and world.
And the last thing that the family can worry about is, okay, what do I do? I've never done this before.
Sure.
Or, how do you put a memorial service together for somebody? So just recently, the people that we've helped with the service, they've said, oh, thank you so much for doing this, because I would have been lost, And so we look at it as really a way to bless that family and help them through the tough time. And
Well, that's awesome.
And there are sometimes when a family does not want to have either a large service or they're having it at a funeral home rather than here. And instead of doing a reception here, we'll find out that where family members are gathering, and we will make trays of food and take it to that home. Because again, the last thing they need to do is to worry about how am I going to feed people who drop in.
Mm-hmm.
So just try to figure out where the families need the most help, what's helpful to them,
Yeah.
not another burden.
Well, we have covered the gamut, and I know that there's even more that you guys do. I mean, from visitations in hospitals to helping people in their homes who are, going through difficult times. I mean, I think the list can go on and on.
I think, and use the word help. And just to maybe emphasize a couple more things, what we consider helping hands.
Yeah.
And the ministry of the deacons for when there isn't a family member, when there's not a community group, and somebody needs some help at the house. So they need help changing a light bulb or fixing a refrigerator or something. We have deacons that can help do that. They might know people that do that. The visitation is a big one, where it's hospital visitations, visitations in the home, praying with somebody before they have surgery. So those are some of the things that happen also kind of under the radar.
Well, and so as we're bringing to light these things and somebody's watching or listening, they're like, oh my goodness, like that just sounds like a huge blessing and a huge help. What would you say to somebody that has never contacted the church before? You know, what would you say to somebody that is going through life circumstances almost in isolation or alone?
Yeah.
What would you say to them to encourage them that this is going to be beneficial and a blessing to them and to others around them?
Yeah, I would say that's what the church is all about. You know, we're not a building. You know, we are people helping each other. And again, going back to Acts and that first century Christian church, they were helping each other out. And I will tell you, it's easier for people to say, "Oh, I don't want to bother the church," or, you know, I that's something that the church doesn't do. But in fact, that's why we exist, and that's why we care for each other. And I'm telling you, it is a testimony to the people outside of the church that see us caring for each other. And, you know, it's those funeral homes out there that know that they can call us. You know, if there's somebody that doesn't go to a church and they need somebody to officiate their service, they call up FBC because we know we're all about caring and we want to help people out. So the message should be, let us be a blessing to you by helping you through some rough times, or just helping you out as a brother and sister in Christ. And let us use our gifts and talents that the Lord gave us. Yeah.
And Jesus said, you know, they will know you're my disciples if you have love one for another.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. That's what we want to show it. And we have such great fellowship when we get together. When our teams are working together, one of the teams we have is a meal team. And so if there's someone who's going through a surgery or just something that's really, really hard right now, and even just preparing a meal is a chore, then we have a meal team, and I set those people up, and they sign up, and they take a meal to that person. And that's just one small way of sharing our own giftedness, just to show the love of Christ to other people. And our teams are close because, I mean, we don't love a funeral for the sake of a funeral, but our team just loves getting together to work because there's that commonality for the goal of what we're there for, and it's just enjoying the presence of the Lord, which is always there when we're serving.
There's an aspect of discipleship that's happening with the family who you're serving, but then as you're serving, there's camaraderie and there's just even conversations that are going on amongst that team, right?
Yes.
So there's a level, there's so many opportunities. I mean, I'll start rattling a few things off. And we started with just prayer. I mean, you can sign up to be a part of just the prayer email chain and be involved in people's lives through prayer. If you actually have more time on your hands and you are like, I do feel gifted in this, or I feel God calling me, let's just start going on down the list. I mean, there's a funeral team, there's Stephen's ministry, there's food, there's visitation. I mean, can partner with you, Dave.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm getting a little stuck here. I'm sure there's tons more that we've already talked about, but you know,
you don't have to be a pastor.
Go down the
to
list.
Visit somebody at the hospital.
Exactly.
You
Right.
But they need to be aware of it, So if they feel like, wow, I would love to do that, I feel like the Lord really that's calling me to do that, you just let us know, and we'll get you on the list.
There's so many opportunities. I mean, I just think just with all the litany of things that we've laid out here.
One more thing, we're kind of building what we're describing as a bench of players, because I'm not a social worker, I'm not a healthcare expert, I'm not a person who knows all the ins and outs of Social Security or other things like that, and so we're kind of building folks that are experts in that area, so that when there's a need that comes around that we know nothing about, I can pick up the phone and call this person and say, hey, you work in the social services area. How does this work? How do we maneuver this person and help them through, whether it's just the paperwork or whether it's taking advantage of all the services that are out there that the government, provides. So accountants, lawyers,
Right.
Those are all skill sets that we're not trained in, or that we may not be the best in, that it could be a once a year phone call that we make to that person and says, hey, this person's having trouble with their taxes.
Put me on the list to just let me give some thoughts on that.
Put me in, coach.
Yeah, neat. Yeah. I love it. Let me refer back to the Acts passage. You did a great job of paraphrasing it, but I'm going to pull out exactly starting on Acts chapter 2, verse 42. They were continually devoting themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone kept feeling a sense of awe, and many wonders and signs were taking place through the apostles. And all who had believed were together and had all things in common. And they began selling their property and possessions and were sharing them with all, as anyone might have need. Day by day, continuing with one mind in the temple and breaking bread from house to house, they were taking their meals together with gladfulness and sincerity of heart, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord was adding to their number day by day those who were being saved.
The first meal team, right there.
There it is.
Acts chapter 2.
There it is.
And so I always tell people Acts chapter 2 and Congregational Care is all about be there, care, share, and be aware.
There you go. Love it.
If you can do all those things.
Put that on a T-shirt.
Boom.
Yeah. Well, you guys are amazing. Thank you for just sharing what you guys do and bringing to light all these things. And I'll emphasize, contact them. Deborah C. at fbcva.org, Dave C. at fbcva.org, and reach out, sign up for that prayer chain, because we know prayer has impact. And so it starts there, but then it starts with just having a mind and a heart for others the way God has loved us. So I love it. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
And next week, Lord willing, we'll be hearing from the counseling team and just what are they doing behind the scenes as well. Yeah. So look forward to it. Well, thank you guys for watching and listening to the podcast. Continue to share this with all the people that you know to stay up to date with everything with our family here at Fellowship Bible Church. So until we chat again, let's let Christ be the focus of our lives each and every day.